Welcome to the race briefing for the JD Duathlon race at Ruapuna in the Enduro format. Here you can see the race schedule. We will open registration at 8:30 a.m. Then we'll simply do a safety briefing at 9:50 a.m. With the racing commencing at 10 a.m. First wave will be all the open vet, super vet, male and female plus all teams. 2 minutes later we will start the novice men and women along with all the juniors, and then the third wave 20 minutes later will be all the youth athletes, which are ages 10 to 12. We'll do a separate race briefing at 10:40 by the finish line on the racetrack for the kids race, and then commence that event at 11 a.m. There's no prize giving today. We have a series prize giving after race 3. The briefing you're listening to now is your race briefing. As I said before, it will simply be a safety briefing on the day. It will not go through all the course details. Special thanks to Triathlon Canterbury. Without them, these events simply would not happen. Also, the Four Winds Foundation, which assist with our traffic management and venue hire costs. Some key rules you need to be aware of. There is no drafting on the bike. That means you need to leave 10 metres between yourself and the rider in front of you. Your race number is to be worn on the front. You can either have it pinned to your top or you can have it attached to a race belt. Please remember that you will keep the same number, the same physical number on that piece of paper for all 3 events if you are doing the following races. Some other important points about the race. When you're out on the bike course, please only pass on the right and keep as far left as you can at all times. If you're passing in the technical part of the course on the mountain side of the track, please call out that you're passing on your right to ensure that people do stay out of your way. If you have any medical issues, we will have a medic that will be floating around the registration area. No portable music devices such as iPods or any earphones can be worn during the event at any stage. If you are in a team, the runner wears your race number. The tag is done in the transition area with the cyclist standing next to their bike, which will be racked. You simply tag hands and the cyclist returns out onto the bike course, and likewise when the cyclist comes in, the runner is waiting where the cyclist will re-rack their bike. Again, tag hands and away you go on your next run leg. The distances for this event, it is multi-lap, so you do need to know how many laps you're doing. For the open and teams races, you are starting with a 2-lap run, then you have a 3-lap bike, a 1-lap run, 3-lap bike, and a 1-lap run. So all the bikes are 3 laps, all the runs are 1 laps with the exception of the first run, which is 2. For the novice and juniors are 13 to 19 year olds, you are doing 1 lap for your runs and 2 laps for your bikes. So you are doing 1 lap run, 2 lap bike, 1 lap run, 2 lap bike, 1 lap run. The start line for the open race and the novice and juniors is just in front of the pit lanes between the bike exit and bike entry point. The start line for the youth race, as I said earlier, will be about 400 metres away from transition down on the footpath that athletes will be running back towards transition on. For the kids race, again, I'll go through that in one moment. Onto the course. Firstly, the run. You start the race in the pit lane area between the bike exit and bike entry point. You run down away from the pit lane garages, you verge onto the racetrack, keeping to the right of the cones to avoid being run over by cyclists later on in the race. As you can see in the map, you run all the way down to the end of the straight. There will be a marshal there with some cones. You turn around those cones and you come back on the other side of the pit lane of the racetrack wall, where you'll find a footpath. The turnaround point, if you're doing more than 1 lap on any particular run, is in front of the office buildings. You turn around a couple of cones there and head out and repeat the same lap. When you complete your designated number of laps, you just simply follow the cones and the signs that will lead you into transition area, which runs between the pit lane garages and the buildings. Run all the way down the finishing chute, and there will be an entry point into the transition, so a run entry point, or on your final run you'll carry on down to the finish line. This image here really shows just after the turnaround point on the run if you're doing more than one laps, and just illustrating that you need to keep to the right, as you will have cyclists coming out either on their first or second bike ride, so we need to make sure there is some separation. So when you're on the bike, keep to the left; when you're running, keep to the right. The bike course is made up of laps of 3.3 kilometers, with the exception of the kids race. As you can see from the map above, you follow the blue line, you exit transition and then onto your bikes, following the same path out onto the track that you did for your run. Then you simply follow the track. The little side roads will be coned off, so you shouldn't be able to go the wrong way. It's obviously pretty straight. There is the big dipper where it's just a little bit of an in and out. Main things on the bike is when you're around if you're looking at the picture now, at the bottom part of the course, there's a few twists and turns. Please keep to the left and pass on the right. If in doubt, call out to the person in front of you that you are passing on their right. The main thing to be aware of with the bike is when you've completed your number of laps, you need to turn into the pit lane area. So you'll see at the right hand side of the map there is a dotted line. At that point you need to ride straight in and into the pit lane road. If you fail to do that, you will have a bit of a challenge climbing over the wall with your bike to actually make it into transition. So count your laps and make sure you turn into that pit lane on your last lap. Just a reminder of a few of the rules. There is no drafting out on the course, so you need to leave 10 metres between yourself and the person in front. You're responsible for counting your own laps, and just remember that you need to turn into that pit lane access road on your final lap. And when it comes to mounting and dismounting your bike, you mount your bike once your bike is over the mount line. When it comes to the dismount, you must be off your bike by the time you reach the line. As for the transition area, when you run in, you will either run down between the barriers or the cones, as you can see in the picture above, and then enter the transition area. Find your bike. Before you pick up your bike, you put your helmet on, and then the bike exit will be at the far end of the transition area. It will be signed. You'll run under the pit lane garages, across the mount line, and then get onto your bike. When you finish your bikes, you bike up to the dismount line, get off your bike before the dismount line, run your bike into transition, re-rack in the same position that you had your bike previously, and then head off on your run. For the run exit, it will be alongside the bike exit and will also be signposted. So the above map you can see the turn point if you're doing more than one lap with the black spot with the pink circle around it. When you finished your run laps, you turn between the buildings and the pit lane garages. There'll be a channel along the outside of transition. You run in, get your bike, go out and do your bike, and so on. The finish line, as you can see, is at the bottom right corner, so you run down that channel that you used for running into transition and carry on going straight under the finish line. Just please be aware when you're in the transition area with this race, it is a lot of coming and going with different abilities, so please watch out for other people and just stay safe out there. The youth race is for 10 to 12 year olds, with the age being taken from the 31st of December, so any 9-year-olds that are turning 10 this year will be in the youth race. So the youth race will be starting 20 minutes after the first race, so at 10:20 AM. In terms of the distances, the first run is a lot shorter than the other two, and then the children will do one full lap on the bike, one full lap on the run, another full lap on the bike, and finish with one full lap on the run. This map illustrates where the race start is for the youth race. It is on the footpath that is outside the racetrack wall, where you'll see the adults previously running down on the second half of their run. I'll call all the children together. We'll walk down to that start line. They just run a straight line to transition and then carry on the same course as everybody else is doing during the day. Finally, the kids race, which is for 5 to 9 year olds. The transition area will be on the track. You can see the picture above. This is directly across from the finish line for the race cars. There's a little section of seal where they can park up their bikes. Please be careful when you're going across to this area that you are not getting in the way of any athletes that will be racing. So the children park their bikes here. I will then take them down to a start position at the far end of the track. They will then, as you can see in this image, they will then run to their bikes, put their helmets on, grab their bikes, and then head off for their bike lap. The bike lap is in fact around about 2/3 of a lap from what the adults are doing, so they will proceed off in the same direction that they have come from their run, go down to the top corner, and there they will be directed to turn left, and then they just need to follow their nose. They'll come all the way back around to where they had their bikes parked previously, park up their bikes, then they'll run down to the end of the pit lane wall, do a U-turn, and then proceed to the finish line where all the adults have finished earlier, and it will be adjacent to the transition area. So it is okay if parents do want to participate with their children, as long as they are not overly encouraging them and pushing them along or anything like that. It is a fun event, but we want to make sure that children are comfortable. We do need a number of parents to help chaperone around the bike course, and just in case of drop chains or any incidents, so please get in touch if you are able to volunteer for this role. So thanks for listening. We hope this online briefing has been helpful. Please make sure that you say a word of thanks to any marshals out on the course there. They're volunteering their time to make sure that you can race, and it's an important part of our sport going forward that we have an active triathlon community where people are not only racing but also putting something back into the sport. So if you do want to volunteer at any other races, please get in touch. If you've got any other questions, email through and we'll reply, or otherwise we'll go through any questions on race day. There will be printed maps around the course at the registration table, so we look forward to seeing you at the race. Have all the best with your training.